Hold on. Are we sure about that? What did we learn from yesterday? Yes? Yes! All right, can everybody please stand? Let us greet the Siperi Vasen Kukemper and Hemet and Bara Ma'at. Iyamatek Us!
Remain standing. Good.
I'm a two in Panetir. Sawek tuament in Panetir. Au Dwalma. Ketipa Heru. We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the Neteru Ra, who is the light of the heavens, light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibilities in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akiru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality, and in the moments of crises and the dark nights of the soul when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down. So it is, and so shall it be. Amen. Ma'at.
Amen. Ma'at.
Ma'akiru.
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 Let me see. I'm trying to get back in this rhythm over here. Good stuff that y'all was sharing earlier. Well, we way off of them, so I was supposed to say Yahweh.
Yahweh!
All right. Mentioned that further, good people. So it's a lot to discuss. So we're gonna get through all of it. I'm gonna take my time. Is the levels good on the mic? Not too loud. All right. And I gotta get the full range of the sexiness, the baritone. All right, so I found this quote, so I want to label the theme of this. Well, I'm not going to label the theme of it. The theme of it is the essence of this quote. It's from something called the Book of Vindication, and it says, "It is your righteousness that creates your power. It is your character that makes you noble." And I felt that was powerful. So we're going to have a talk about tradition. Because there's this trend in the conscious community that everybody tries to one-up each other with their information. It's cool that we have this new woke movement and stuff, but you can't, it's hard to really share and build with people because everybody thinks they know more than you, or have a more enlightened perspective about a thing than you do. So we're going to discuss some things. But let's start. I'm going to have to break Hemet's charge about talking about yesterday. I outrank this on the birthday. So it was an eventful weekend. How y'all feeling? Is it fair to say we're not tired, but some of us been rocking out since Friday night, so I don't think we're tired. It's just been a lot of stimulation. And there's also, there's probably much needed quietude in order to process the great work that was done this weekend. Is that correct? Okay. So when I'm listening to you all, as of yesterday, I feel like a grandfather and stuff. So I'm watching and all the older initiates coming home and stuff. People talking about 22 years. You see how long I've been doing it, right? So I've been doing this the greater part of 30 years. And my teachers before me were doing it 25 years before me. So now, do y'all understand how upsetting and offensive it was for those young folks the past few weeks to disrespect what it is that we've done? I have more adult years being Kemetic than I have not being Kemetic. So more of my life I've been doing this than I haven't been doing. So to have some youngsters that's probably barely even 30, if that, try to dishonor what it is that we do, or even our elders before. So just like, I think we know, we all know better than that. So it's like, yo, who raised you? So y'all mind if I address that some more? I'm not gonna be petty. I'm not gonna be petty because I had to share the floor with the Himmet, the session ensued, but I still had some thoughts that I wanted to bring it all to closure. I'm still gonna deal with yesterday. I'm gonna bring it all home to y'all, okay? So I've been doing this the greater part of 30 years. And I think taking all the things into consideration for the past 3 weeks, it's been 3 weeks since the thing, right? Since the incident. What do y'all think about this? Is it possible that the Temple of Anu could be entering our villain era? It's very possible. And I've been relaxing with the idea that I think you had a quote, you said it's okay to be the villain of someone else's thing.
As long as you're the hero of your own story.
As long as you're the hero of your own story. I'm okay with being the villain of someone else's story. Say it again.
As long as
I'm getting old and great at it.
as long as you're the hero in your own story.
As long as you're the hero in your own story. So when we talk about the villain era, what is that? It's interesting, the time that we live in, doesn't it seem like disrespect is the order of the day? It seems very interesting that people can't express themselves and stand on their truth without disrespecting someone else. I find it very hard to process how do we talk about community and nation building and things like this if everybody's so comfortable telling the next person that they don't care how you feel, right? So I'm perplexed by that. So when we say the villain era, let us talk about it. Are y'all familiar with the solar bark? You gotta know the name of metal nectar for the solar bark? It's we are. The solar bark represents Ra, the consciousness of the cosmos moving through existence. And who does he have on that solar bark? Satesh. Doesn't Satesh get this bad rap in the community? We have to address that. Why Satesh, out of all the Netzru, and everybody, even in the conscious community, appears to be afraid of Satesh because they be transplanting the Judeo-Christian ideas into the Kemetic thing, and so they made him the devil or the baddie. Putting the white on the black. What is it, white face in the book? I don't know. But all right, so we have to ask, why wasn't it Heru? It would have made sense, right? Or why wasn't it Montu? And if we want to go with the divine feminine, why wasn't it Sekhmet? There was a plethora of deities that could have been on the top of that solar bark, in front of that solar bark, but he chose Satesh. He's the Lord and Master of opposition, the owner of opposition. Understand that in the tradition, it says Ra has to create the universe every day. So Isfet, Apep embodies Isfet. Isfet represents chaos, disorder. So you have to create order every day. So look at your life, and sometimes you get up and you're like, yo, what's going on? What did I do to deserve this? You didn't get up early enough to create that order. If you don't create that order, somebody else's order will impose itself on you. So who better but Satesh, the Lord of opposition, to fight that type of opposition? So you're talking about the embodiment of chaos is trying to encroach upon your life. It's best to leave the Satesh that's about that work. You know what I'm saying? So maybe because of this event that happened 3 years ago, maybe it's time to invoke Satesh on that solar bark, because after all, Ra is our Neteru, right? Are we Buddhists? So I think a lot of people take spiritual people for granted, especially those in the Kemetic culture. They make their little goofy remarks about us wearing our white and carrying our hunks and praying and chanting and stuff like that. They be thinking it's something soft, but being soft is not a Kemetic thing. Being soft is not an African thing. Actually, Africans are very hot and aggressive. That passive stuff is an Eastern concept, just so y'all know. You ain't gonna find too many quotes and texts that's telling you to be letting people slide for any old goofy thing. Y'all heard of the smiting posture of the Nasut? You ever seen that when he got an enemy on his knee? Yeah, so certain things you can't let slide, because there's a text that says, if you don't punish wrongdoing, then who will?
That's right.
So what happens is we became so disempowered over here in our Western situation that we become a lot of times Christian in our approach to conflict. And we be like, I'm gonna let the ancestors handle it. Certain stuff you're supposed to handle right up front. And certain things are beyond you. In spirituality, you handle everything as far as you physically can, and when it's beyond you, then you give it to the ancestors. But certain people don't even try, they just reach out and get too spiritual and stuff like that. But yesterday was an amazing day. When I'm watching all of you, I'm very defensive. Like, I wasn't there when the event happened. I don't even know how that would have went down if I was there. Because disrespecting y'all is disrespecting me. You all the extension of me. I certified and validated y'all. So for somebody to, even Bob, for somebody to come at Bob, that's why I jumped on and saying, I'm like, y'all attacking elders? Nah. So just like as if I was there in person, I would never let nobody disrespect me to my face. I might have had to do the smiting thing. You know, I might have told them to sit out there running people by their hair and their neck. But I don't want to promote violence. But I did got to punish wrongdoing. When I still saw you all, listening to you all yesterday, I saw real people that go through real things, that's taking real accountability, that's trying to level up. And that's rare in these days and times. Accountability is like a dang on UFO. I gotta take that back. Everybody seen UFOs every week now. Maybe that's a good thing. Accountability is coming back. So I see people transitioning from the perspective of being victims into victors of their life. And this year, I'm trusting that we all feel like we're long overdue for a serious shift, change, and transformation, right? So we have to have a different level of conversation going into the new year, because there's many things coming down the pike for human culture. Y'all see this whole AI concern, and people, it's like they trying to bring slavery back across the board. They not wanting to pay people's pennies and stuff like that. So it's certain things that's not just affecting us as African people, but we're part of the human family too, but things that's affecting the human culture, that decisions will have to be made. We're at a crossroads, right? And us as African folks, we're not scared of the crossroads because we understand the spirits and the guardians of the crossroads. Some say Eshu Alagba, in other traditions we say Mbu and Wet Wap. So we have access to stay tuned in and tapped in to what this crossroads energy is. So we always gonna have a heads up. But thinking about yesterday and even today, through these things that's been happening the past few weeks that we've been having to deal, it was unprecedented. We never had to deal with anything like that before, but a lot of unknown supporters came forward and to express their support for us, which was a good thing, because sometimes being in this position and doing what it is that we do, you know, we've seen movements before us. We've seen like the Moore Science Temple movement, we've seen the Nation of Islam, and we've seen them grow like thousands and stuff. So naturally, you would want to see something like this grown to thousands of millions and things like that, but sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't it seem like sometimes the community go out the way and act like they don't see you? Everybody keep talking about all the stuff that needs to be done, and we're doing it, and people is like, they're ignoring you. There's this saying that the elders used to teach the people: if you can't say nothing nice, then what? That's what the mother folks need to learn. The elders that they was bragging about over there obviously didn't teach them that lesson. but it's an anomaly that goes on in our community. So if they say, if you can't say something nice, then don't say something at all. But there's this anomaly like, well, it's the opposite of that polarity in the conscious community. They're like, if you can't say something bad, we ain't gonna say nothing at all. Because we don't have a lot of drama coming from this temple. We're actually keeping our nose down, doing the work. And to other folks out there, that's boring. They're like, man, no scandal or nothing going over here. So when this thing happened, everybody was, oh, snap, they came at the temple. You know, it's like reality TV. You know, so that was the first time we went viral. You know, we've been doing this forever, but now all of a sudden when this happens, people want to pay attention. So we're going to take this as an opportunity to address the attention. So it's an excellent opportunity to tell people who we are from our own mouth and control our own narrative and say who we are and what we won't tolerate and what lines not to cross and what are the consequences.
That's right.
So because we're, contrary to popular opinion, we're not scared to deal with conflict. And I want to also thank the owner of this establishment. I don't want to put her name out there, but thank her for supporting us and giving us a place to hold this and following the dictation of our heart, supporting good people doing good things. Good people doing good things. But we're bigger than just good people doing good things. We're good people repositioning ourselves to do great things. Repositioning ourselves for greatness. Greatness is a frequency that can be hard to carry. We've seen certain people go mentally ill trying to be great. We've seen people transition trying to be great. And it almost seems like sometimes it's required for you to transition before people recognize your greatness, right? So greatness is a bittersweet journey that is filled with equal parts bitterness or equal parts love and hate. So if we're repositioning ourselves for greatness, then we have to ask ourselves this question: can we or are we willing to receive love? Because some people are so used to the hate that we stop believing in love. That you think love is this fairy tale thing because you got so used to putting on your armor. So the question we have to ask, can we receive love as we endure the hate? Because both it has to be there. They said if you don't have no enemies, then you ain't doing nothing right. Or you ain't doing something right. So it's actually a compliment to have enemies sometimes. And sometimes a decent foe can wake up some things and you be like, oh, okay, I gotta dust off these skills. So we're gonna deal with, before we move on, we're gonna deal with the issue of making things up, because that was a claim. People be making things up. It's an interesting claim. This usually never comes from actual practitioner. By the time you all come to places like the Temple of Anu or any of the temples, you're usually broken down. You be like, yo, you're ready for the shift, change, the transformation. You be like, yo, what I gotta do? Okay. Well, you've been in it 30 years? Okay, you look like you got this stuff. And your teacher's been in it longer than you've been alive? Okay. That's where the practitioners are coming from. And I want to ask you a question. Can something be new yet authentic at the same time? You see how they play that word game? They use the word, are you practicing authentic African spirituality? So we have to watch the mind game. When people start talking about African spirituality, their mind goes to the past. They never think of the present and they never think of the future. So when you're saying I'm into African spirituality, I'm initiated into something African, they think of the villages, dusty places, goats, cows, and all of that stuff. They never think current. They never think Afrofuturism, things like that. So we agree that authenticity is not relegated to the past, correct? All right. It's usually the people that don't practice that's all concerned with other people's authenticity. People that don't practice never intended on practicing, but they always concerned with people like you and I do to make things work for us. Isn't that ironic? To some people, they want us doing the village thing. They want us doing the mud hut thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to go into posterity, to the future. You got to find a way to merge the past, present, and the future at the same time. That's how you know you have a living tradition. So, but when people use that word authenticity, they see it as a thing as that somehow what it is that you practice can't be caught up with the times. They be like, you ain't really doing the African thing that you walk around with shoes on. You got a car? For real, like how African do we need to be? You know, and there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, but we're here, we're in a different place, different time, different circumstances, and a lot of times it's unavoidable that your environment sometimes imposes itself on the culture. And all technology and all the things that we're exposed to are not bad. All European creations are not bad. Then we find out that 80% of them was created by Africans anyway, and they stole the copyrights anyway, so our stuff anyway. So, some people think any signs of advancement or modernity somehow disqualifies us from authenticity. So that's why they be looking at our aunts and stuff like that, like, yo, we just caught up with the times. I believe if those ancient ancestors were here, they'd be rocking some hot silver and gold aunts too, you know? And just understand that a lot of the technology they haven't even caught up from back then. So imagine if it went uninterrupted to now, it wouldn't be looking like the stuff that they're going to Egypt. They ain't, young people not going to Kemet, that's Egypt. That's under the rule of some other people. If you can't do your rituals and stuff like that, make a proper pilgrimage, that's Egypt. It becomes Kemet when you go over there for an African-centered purpose, like we're gonna do our rituals and we're not going for tourism. You know, the other people are just kind of doing the equivalent to visiting the graveyard. So the authenticity is not relegated to the past. The purpose is to merge the past, present, and the future at the same time. Some other traditions boast of elders, and elders always have a place in African tradition. You should have living elders. But there was this accusation about we just read books. Isn't that insulting? After all we went through over here in America, and now it becomes the butt of somebody's joke that you read books. We might as well do like that thing in Florida and start burning the books and burning the information, because it makes people uncomfortable that you know the truth. So let's bring balance to it. So it's cool to have elders. You should have elders, but you got to read too. You got to read the text. And as the session is Sue and myself, we're talking, the ancestors trump the elders. Y'all understand that? If we got the word from Ptah Hotep itself, we don't have to believe everything that comes from the mouth of an elder. Sometimes elders are wrong. Sometimes the ancestors could be wrong, but we can compare it to, hold up, elder, what you said is kind of contradictory. Maybe we could find a contrast, maybe we could find a connection. But to laugh and say people just read books as though we don't have elders. What do they say? When the elder dies, can anybody finish that? When the elder dies, a library is burned to the ground. You know that was part of the beginning of the ending of Africa. They started killing the elders, so all that information was dying, going back to the ethers. But Kemet was the balance. It kept it all in the text and on the walls. So we can't ever disrespect the books, right? And there's so much wisdom in that text. You just got to learn to read the meta-mental. And that's where the games start being played with other people from other traditions. They start saying, oh, we got all the information. You like, the information is still there. Some people are just going to Kemet sightseeing. They're just taking pictures, and you're like, do you know what that says? Do you know what the Hotep suit is? Do you know what a Perkaru is? And then everybody's making it seem like you got to go through other traditions. What happens is, back 50 years ago, when Dr. Ben was teaching, he was teaching all this Kemetic knowledge, but he even admitted that he didn't know a lot of things about it, and he discouraged people from trying to do it. So people were using Kemet as the cherry on top of the whole African-centered thing. Like everybody's walking with the King Tut, the pyramids, this, and, Egyptian stuff on their walls and stuff, but they didn't connect and tap to the spirit. So what happened is everybody started going to Ifa, They started going to the Europe because they want an authentic African experience. But the tradition, the information, we had Infodisi. Infodisi learned Metal Nectar. Dr. Ben didn't know Metal Nectar. So you saw the limitations of his knowledge. And Infodisi comes with the Metal Nectar. The Baba Haru comes with the science, the sound, and things like that. So that's evolution of the culture, right? Let's go to what our ancestors said, just to address that elder thing. You know, elders are a beautiful thing, but we can't be letting the elders die without getting all that information. So the safest thing for us, in order never to repeat that elders cycle again, is you gotta write it down. So our thing is going into posterity through the digital stuff. We in the cloud now. So what do we call it? We have ancestors, what are the people coming behind you?
Descendants.
Descendants. Our descendants is going to get it from us word for word from our mouths. So Keti, the ancestor Keti says, follow in the footsteps of the ancestors. Their words endure in books. Open them in what? So we can't diss the books. This is the ancestors say, open the books. He said, following your ancestors is reading them books. Open them and read them. And follow their wise counsel. For the one who is taught becomes skillful. So we got to give side-eye emojis to anybody that thinks it's okay to clown people that's trying to decipher and interpret as well as apply the wisdom of the text. Authentic tradition is not a prison. Some people think tradition is the same as that concept of religion, which is very restrictive. Authentic tradition is not a prison. Past traditions are appealed to and consulted for reference. Y'all get that? We go to the text and the ancestors for reference because the future is over here, the past has happened. So we consult the text to see if there's any perspective that we need to take into consideration as we move forward. That's supposed to be common sense, right? This amazes me that we gotta keep having this conversation. I used to have this type of talk yearly, but I was like, our people are smart, they understand, and then we get accused of all of this stuff. So a lot of times what's happened is information is good, but there's not a lot of wise people around. Information doesn't always break down to wisdom. So we reference the text. So every text has to have its context or its perspective. Keti also says this, check it out. It says a wise person is a school for the nobles, and those who are aware of his knowledge do not attack him. No evil takes place when he is near. The truth comes to him in its essential form, shaped in the sayings of the ancestors. So we consult the text and we try to make sense of our current situation to check with the elders as well as the ancestors to see if they've been through what it is that we've been through. And whatever it is that we're going through, we apply that past wisdom to the current circumstance. There will be some things that we experience that they haven't experienced, and you're going to have to go in and tap in because the divine is within you also. So all wisdom and information is not necessarily outside your body or in the books. So the tradition is instructive and sacred. So let's talk real quick about tradition and legitimacy. So some people think older is better when it's really about discovery and recovery. Discovery and recovery equals expansion. So we look at the text and be like, oh snap, I didn't see that before. So you discovered something. Oh snap, I didn't see that before. Now that I know that, now I know we can go this direction with the ceremony. That's recovery. So when you go into it with a fresh mind, you can expand the tradition. Because some people lead you to believe that there could be no innovation in the tradition. We don't want something that's dead. We talk about a living legacy, correct? So this whole thing of discovery and recovery is called Saruj. Does that sound familiar? Anybody want to tell me what Saruj means? Restore. To restore. So check it out. From the Shabaka text, the high priest named Ra'im Red. He was a priest of Amen. This is what he said about Shabaka, Nubian Nasib. He said he restored the temple of Amun after it was in ruins, making it what? More spacious, doing what? Raising it, and doing what? And making it better than it was before. Doesn't that sound like they have room for innovation? Making it more spacious, raising it, and making it better than it was before. Some people lead you to believe that you can't add nothing or there can be no contributions to the legacy. So we just saw Shabaka demonstrate this. There's something called the Shabaka stone. He also had access to some texts that were worm-eaten. That the text was no longer there. They said he pretty much finished the text. So what? Shabaka made some stuff up. It wasn't there. He had to tune in, he had to tap in to complete the text. That's the rouge, that's called restoring. Even if, be like, it cuts off here. So the people nowadays, they lead you to be like, oh, we don't know what they thought, so leave it alone. I thought we were the descendants of these people. I thought we were the descendants of greatness. Why do we keep putting ourselves down like we can't figure some stuff out? Everybody keeps saying the answers are within, the answers are within, and when you start saying, they be like, you can't do that, you gotta go to the elders. Like, why can't you do both? Queen Hatshepsut said after restoring, she said, or this is what she said, having restored, pretty much after having restored what the Amu had destroyed. Y'all know who the Amu is? We're the temple of who? Amu. So who is the who? The Amu. Who is that? So we're not the temple of the Amu. We're the temple of Anu, the original people. After what the Amu had destroyed, who ruled Kemet in its chaos. It said they ruled Kemet in its, what's chaos again in the middle of nothing? Doesn't Ra have to go against Isfet? So it said these foreigner people who weren't indigenous brought Isfet. She said, I have restored, that's the roots, that which was in ruins. She sounded like Shabaka. She was before Shabaka. It's almost like they were saying the same thing. He said, I have restored that which was in ruins. I have raised, didn't he just say raised up too? She said, this is how you know it was a tradition, something that leaders were supposed to do. You didn't stumble upon it, it was expected. Some type of innovation was expected. That's the difference between each dynasty. Each one was bringing something new, adding to the game. I don't understand why it's a problem for people to add and contribute to the legacy if it's making things better. I have restored that which was in ruins. I have raised up that which was destroyed. And when the Amu were in the midst of Kemet, she was talking about re-Africanizing Kemet. Because some foreigners was in. Some things got chaotic. Overthrown when it said, in the midst, or the Amu were in the midst of Kemet, overthrowing that which had been made as they ruled without Ra. Remember, Ra establishes order. Now y'all start seeing why mythology is important. Mythology helps you actually tap energies and connect the past, the present, as well as the future, as well as pull down, draw down, and embody power. True. That's what you need myths for. You could do it if you could tune in and tap in, but who really does that? When you chant, Mark just said, just tap in, be powerful. You know, like, there gotta be some ceremony to get you in that space. If you could do it off the bat, cool, but who can really do that? True. We have a lot of people talking the talk, but who can really do it? That's what I'm saying. This new thing that's coming down the pipe, you're gonna have to walk in your power. Belief is not gonna be enough. Everything that you were doing up until this point was training you for what's to come. Talking about months now, we ain't even talking a decade. There's gonna be some serious change within the next 3 years. True. That's how serious it is. So I'm not to incite any fear because you already got the tools. That's right. And as you listen to you all speaking, y'all are starting to relax into the tools. Because our community got us so much just in the learning, academic stuff, that you wasn't actually using or doing anything with the information. Now it's time to walk in the power. And it's gonna take some serious challenges to actually activate the power. That you're about to find out Don't some superheroes find out they're superheroes when they about to die, or they actually died and came back like, oh snap, Black Lightning. So we've been doing Wet Repent for the past 13 years, and before that it was 20 something years before that with Baba Hero. Baba Hero actually started the Siddharud. He just didn't call it Siddharud. He called it Star. It was Sima, Tawi, Ankh, Ascension, Renaissance. Isn't that the same as Siddharud? To restore, to raise up, all of that. Sima, Tawi, Ankh, Ascension, Renaissance. That was his way of saying, hey, let's look again at this thing that we got here. Because all the scholars, Dr. Ben and all of them were before him, they were talking about it. He said, hey, let's look at this again. Y'all know to look again means to respect, right? Let's respect the information that we talk so boldly and proudly. Because there was a lot of down talking on the Christians and Muslims at the time. It was almost like people were trying to deproselytize them and open them up to Kemetic studies. And that was cool, but you were supposed to do something with the Kemetic studies. So he said, let's look at it again. So we're actually, Siddharud, he was 1.0, so we're 2 then, right? That's how that worked. 2.0. 2.0. So we said, let's look at it again. Let's do something with the tradition. So he started something. He started a trajectory. We're the next level of that trajectory. So what we do is about cultural enrichment and identity. So what we've inherited from Baba Haru to what we do, we've invested sacredness into it. We've restored sacredness. In this day and time, people are not into anything sacred. Everybody's so busy that they have no time for the sacredness. What does the word sacredness mean? It means to set aside or set apart. People are so busy that they don't set aside or set apart time for anything that's sacred. It's 2023 and people still can't make record pay. You got all year. You know, we have to go to another level. We got to cut down. You know, I'm not blowing nobody's spot. Maybe I am, but you know, we got to. It's time to go to another level. All right, so now we get into the reading. I did a reading also. So just to give y'all some initial insights into the year, some oversights. Remember, I do my readings physical, mental, spiritual. The way things fall on the board is either going to fall right side up or upside down, right? Upside down doesn't mean negative. Upside down means there's an inherent challenge. So I'm going to let y'all know off the top, all 3 was upside down. It's not a bad thing. It's what we're just talking about now. It's just time for you to use your tools. It's nothing to fear. You got everything it is that you need to know. Just use the tools. It's just small adjustments. So I would say it's a form of completing your shadow work. So y'all ready? So in the physical house is noon. What is noon? If you had to break noon down to one word, what would you break it down to?
Potentiality.
That's the word, potentiality. The waters of potentiality. So potentiality was upside down. Meaning you will not find the resources that you're looking for in the house that it occupies. So there's a lot of attention on health, and people I think somebody broke down or brought up body dysmorphia yesterday. Did somebody bring that up? Everybody's so preoccupied with the body. The body is a manifestation of the mind, but the body is not the mind. So just because you address the body doesn't mean you're going to fix the mind. If you fix the mind, the body's automatically going to adjust. It's simple. But when you don't want to adjust the mind and you're trying to make the body needs an instruction. And that's why a lot of times you can't lose the weight and the body's not looking the way you want it to because your mind is undoing itself. Since you're being short-sighted and are looking in the wrong place for the things you need to accomplish your goal. And remember, it's not just talking about the physical body. Whatever tangible circumstance you might be in presently, you might be hitting a wall and not understanding something. Like, why is this happening? You got to check your mind frame, your mind state. It says you should pay attention to your voice within, and it will lead you to recognize your true potential. Otherwise, your resources, if ignored, will fade and dissipate. That's serious in itself. Do y'all see the different layers of serious fate? You don't need nothing physically fading. And, we can talk about some transition. Not trying to incite fear. We're not scared of death anyway, but it could be that serious if we don't get it together. For the mental, it's Chefa. You know what Chefa'u is? Anybody? No. Yeah. It is a bird, but yeah, it represents food. Represents abundance. So, abundance upside down, what does that mean? What does that invoke in your mind? When somebody says abundance upside down, scarcity consciousness, right? Because now we're in the mind. Say that again? Scarcity mentality. So it's talking about diminishing. So that's interesting. You see that as above, so below. We just talked about in the body, about dissipating. Use the word, be careful of things dissipating. So now in the mind, it's talking, the first word was diminishing. It says, a wide range of losses and dispossessions from minor to major. So I would say don't be discouraged, be encouraged, because it's just about focus. God or divine is your imagination. So all you got to do is make up your mind and things shift automatically. People make it harder than what it's supposed to be. You don't have to spend years in therapy and things like that. It's just a matter of making up your mind. You can get the assistance with therapy, but still make up your mind. And stop putting it on other people to get you right. It's okay to have support, but what they say, you got to hold your own nuts at the end of the day. Also, on another note, it could represent a cycle. Whatever the cycle that gave the issue its impetus, it may be about to dissipate. So it doesn't necessarily mean nothing negative. You might have had something negative enter your life that you were struggling with for a while, and it's saying now that is about to dissipate. You see how it could be positive or negative based off of what's going on in your circumstance. But it also said, it's also saying don't get too cocky. You might have something that good come into your life, and that might dissipate if you don't get your mind right to it. And they say you might watch all that you invested in dwindle away. So it's proportionary. So let's deal with the mind. Shin. Y'all know what a shin is? Shin, shinu. Go ahead. The cartouche. Y'all know what a cartouche is? That circle where your Kemetic name is inside of it. It represents protection. It means it represents life and the spiritual. So it's that upside down. So it says the issue is a shadow of a previous situation or incident. You have to decide what it means yourself. That's why I like divination sometimes. A lot of times you're safe because it's saying something to a group of people, and it means something different to each person, and nobody's spot got to be blown up. So this one is talking to Sakura. So the issue is a shadow of a previous similar incident or situation. You need to remember that what happened previously is not identical with the current situation. Pretty much it's saying you need to find a new way to deal with the situation. It's still fresh, even though it's similar, it's not the same. We talk about circles and spirals, so you might be going up a notch. What did you learn from that last situation that you could apply to the new situation? Because you might have messed it up the last time. You'd be like, damn, like how I reacted that last time. Here it is again. I'm presented with an opportunity to redeem my character. Remember to say, your power is in your righteousness, and your character manifests in your nobility. Saying if you don't handle it different, it will haunt you in a variety of guises. It say you should devote your energies to your current issue where growth and success is possible. So there is redemption in that. Everything from the mental, physical, and spiritual is telling you to just shift. But it's also telling you you don't have time to waste with the shifting. You see, they're talking about diminishing and things like that. I don't like language like that. So, pretty much get on it. Use your stuff. You got the truth. Use it. Gab also came up in the reading. Gab and Mahat came up in the reading. Gab represents two things, three things. People, health, and resources. So it says it's time to invest in your health, your whole health, not just the physical body. Your health, relationships, interrelationships, because your resources come through your relationships. In African tradition, you're wealthy and rich due to your relationships. This is the time to stop fighting against your highest good and what you know to be right. No more struggling with diet, weight. It says it's time to bring closure to your pathologies. Unless it's something like, some people have extenuating circumstances. There was some serious psychological, physical trauma that's been happening with certain people in their past. They might need a little bit more time and grace. But a lot of people, they could, I ain't like how that person spoke to me, and they just done for 3 years. And you're like, damn. That's what it's talking about, stuff like that. Manageable stuff, not no serious physical, psychological trauma. That's the therapy was for those people. So we have this wave of femininity come across the community, and everybody's into therapy, and all that's cool, but we can't stay in that space. You gotta reintegrate the masculine and start doing something and moving forward. So don't just get too comfortable, because some people almost use it as bragging rights. I'm seeking therapy. You're like, it's been like 4 years. So once again, not to make light of anybody's issue, because I don't know everybody's personal circumstance. But the Neteru was trying to tell you, giving you a nudge like it was time to move on with your life. But Bob came right side up. And it's embodied in this quote: those who are blameless in their conduct, no words can prevail against them. And those who are self-mastered, the harsh are kinder to them than their own mothers. And all people become their servants. Let your name, mean your reputation, go forth. Then you yourself are silent, you will be recognized and respected. So that's a charge that we have to do personally as well as the community. That's why we handle this conflict well, and our reputation is in good order in the community, because they know we're good people doing good things. So what it said, those who are blameless, no word shall prevail against them. Those who are self-mastered, handle yourself with class. It said when you do that, the people become your servants. And you even though you remain silent, you'll be recognized and respected. Then I say through this process, people that we didn't even know made themselves known, that they were supporters and stuff like that, and they took stances. All because of our work. Jehuti and Haru comes up. This is the last part. It's telling you to watch your inner conversation. Haru is about walking in your power, but you can't walk in your power if your inner dialogue is negative. So sometimes you're undoing your magic by just a negative conversation. So a lot of you are already well seasoned in spirituality and metaphysical practices. So it says, walk in your power, supremely focused on maintaining high frequency. Refrain from speaking or having conversations that are not affirming your reality. I'm gonna repeat that. Walk in your power, supremely focused on maintaining high frequency. Refrain from speaking or having conversations that are not affirming your reality. One more time. Walk in your power, supremely focused on maintaining high frequency. Refrain from speaking or having conversations that are not affirming your reality, as if it were already true. That's the power right there, that last part, as if it was already true. So you're not praying for something in the future. You're not asking or affirming the ancestors for something in the future. You got to act as if you already have it already. That's your power, the power of as if. So Heru is the power of as if. So if you know yourself to be divine, then it is no reason for you not to act accordingly. So the whole essence of the message is to lessen your contradictions. And it takes us back to the top. It is your righteousness. What is the word for righteousness? Ma'at means balance. It is your balance. It is your centeredness. It is your connection. It is your alignment that creates your power. You see, it changes the dimension of it when you could open the definition of the words outside of just the general seven. There's other words that are, that correspond to ma'at besides those seven. I like the word alignment. It's kind of current, but it gives another dimension of it. So it is in your alignment, your centeredness that creates your power. It is your character that makes you noble. So I end on that note. Y'all good? Good. All right.
Can everyone stand? Left foot forward, arms up. Are we going in peace and satisfaction? Then we'll say Shemi Mateb. Brothers cross right over left, sisters cross left over right. Dianu, Uncle Jasanev. Dianu, Uncle Jasanev. Open. Give energy to the room. Bring it into the body, and on the count of 3, stomp with your right foot. 1, 2, 3. Do ananta, everyone. Thank you for those of you who joined us online. We appreciate your attention and time today, and we appreciate the reciprocity that you send to us in the form of your donations. Donations can be sent by Cash App to $ Temple of Anu or by PayPal to templeofanu@gmail.com. Shemi Matep, everyone.